Hi, welcome back to the shop. Thanks for stopping in. This week's video is a blank that I started before I had the channel going and I hadn't recorded the casting of the blank. It is a maple burl cast in Illuminate clear cell resin, and I dyed the resin with Illuminate orange dye, and I used Caster's Choice, Blaze Orange, and the White Pearl mica powders. And so I've already had it trued up before I started this video. The faceplate and the sacrificial block that are attached to the headstock were cast into the blank when I did it, so that's what's holding them on. And the tailstock's just up there for a little bit extra stability. Just trimming the out of balance material off the top where the extra resin was poured over top of the burl. Now, this piece was actually bought for someone who I know was going to watch the video, so I delayed releasing the video until now. It was just received last week, and so this is the first chance I've had to put it out without spoiling the surprise. This is a skew chisel that I'm using on the side. It works like a negative rig scraper. I'm just cutting a tenon with the dovetail to fit in the 4-jaw chuck for when I reverse it to turn out the middle. And I also use this to go around and clean up any tool marks. This tool works really good to clean up tool marks, and it does give a nice finish, but it's not a very expensive tool, and the steel's not great, so it needs to be resharpened really often turning this resin. But towards the end, you'll see I'll hold up a few of the little shavings come up, look like angel hair coming off it, which is a really good sign. It's a nice cut when you're getting that. There's those fine shavings I was talking about. So I got the outside shaped the way that I want, and I'm just going to do a little bit of sanding and skip most of it here. Sanded this up to 2500 grit and a little bit of denatured alcohol just to get the dust off, and this is everybody's favorite part. You get to see what the piece is going to look like. So this is the first time I've ever used sanding sealer on a piece, and I was really happy with how it turned out. I do need to get some thinner for the sanding sealer because it is thick. So I skipped through the rest of the sanding process, and now we're on the finish, which is Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. Let's just put it on while the lathe's turning, buff it in, and give it a nice light rub at the end to put a little shine on. Now I'm just going to put the 4-jaw chuck on and get ready to reverse the bowl. But one thing to point out is that the tenon on this is actually a little bit larger than it should be for the size of this jaw. As you can see, there's a slight gap in between the jaws, and they should be tighter than that. But it did have a good hold, and so we're going to flip it around by unthreading the faceplate off. Now we got it turned around the right way to finish off the inside, so I've got to cut the resin away from the sacrificial block that's on my faceplate. So I take the resin off the outside. Then once that's gone, I come in with the parting tool and just separate the two. So now we got the camera turned around, ready to start hollowing out the inside. Starting off with the traditional bowl gouge. It doesn't cut the resin as well as the carbide, negative rate carbide tool does, but it is much faster. And so while there's lots of material there to take away and it won't affect the finished surface of the bowl, I can hog away as much as I can, as quickly as I can with this tool. And during this process, I'm going to switch back and forth between this and a regular traditional scraper and a negative rate carbide easy wood finishing tool. I'm just going to put a radius on the lip of the bowl now, and this is done with a negative rate carbide tool so that I don't get any chip out here, because that would not be good. Back into the bottom again. One of the reasons for skipping back and forth between the different tools is one is better for putting a finish on it and getting a thickness that you want, and the other one is better for taking out tool marks, but not so good in a finish in the resin. So it's just a matter of using the right tool in the right spot at the right stage to get to where you need to be. At this point, it's all about making the wall thickness consistent and eliminating as much sanding as you possibly can. You can see that most of the tool marks are gone now, and the shape is good, so it's time to get into some sanding again. And I'm only going to show a little bit of this as usual, and we'll get right back into the finish. So now we're sanding down to 2500 grit again, same as the outside, and back to the Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. And in hindsight, I didn't need to put the Hampshire Sheen on, because at the very end I buffed the bowl and just buffed all that back off. And I really like the finish that the buffing put on, so that's probably going to be how I do all my resin pieces from now on. Now the inside's completely finished. This little view of the nice wood that's inside of that. Now it's time to turn it upside down on a set of cold jaws and finish off the bottom. And being very, very careful here, making light cuts. So I don't want to lose it off the coal jaws. And this is done with a negative rake easy wood hollowing tool. You can see that I just laid the chisel against this to make sure that it's concave so that the bowl will sit nice and flat and not rock. Then finish the bottom up to 2500 grit, the same as the rest of the bowl. Into the Hampshire sheen finish now. So this is another first. This is a buffing wheel. This is the first step. It has triple E compound on it, which is that brownish colored compound. And that just buffs any little scratches that are in it out. So I buff perpendicular to the scratches, which are going around the circumference of the bowl. And buffing it up and down from bottom to top. And keeping the lip of the bowl down so that it doesn't catch on that wheel and get flipped out of my hands. And this is the second stage. This is diamond. You see the diamond's being put on the wheel here now, which is just a finer compound than the tripoli. And same process. And it really puts, you can see when the light catches the bowl, you can see it puts a really nice shine on the outside. I did do the inside off camera. It was a little harder to get into because the diameter of the wheel was almost the same size as the inside of the bowl, but it managed it without incident. I'll put a couple stills up at the end. And thanks for stopping in. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And for those who have subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether you liked it or didn't like it. And if you do give it a thumbs down, please leave a comment. Let me know why so that I can improve. See you next time. Thanks.